Well, would you believe it? Someone at SI has finally found the password to log into the Football Manager page on Twitter, and we've got a trailer for Football Manager 26. But it's only 30 seconds long, and it's a bit of a teaser one. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's get stuck into this. We'll make our way over here to the Football Manager 26 website and get stuck into this trailer. So first up, we'll play this through. To be fair, there's only 4 shots of actual in-game footage, but still, it is quite exciting. So let's see here what this trailer has to offer.
The wait has been long. The build-up impossible to ignore. So much has changed, but that feeling, it never left.
So yes, Football Manager 26 is a real game. It should be coming out later this year, as was found out earlier through one of the Sega financial reports, and we should see soon as well a little bit of the match date as well. So that could be quite exciting, albeit we already see a little bit here in this trailer. Let's make our way through here and let me talk over it. Most of these images here are from real life, including that one of the Brighton Stadium. But the first thing we see here is of the standing game with the ball on top of it and the Premier League logo and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, the Premier League licensing did get added into the game before FM25. It just never came out, and to be fair, this did come out a couple of days before the Premier League season was about to start. So nice little hype reel we've got for both FM26 and the Premier League. Quite interestingly, there's a fair bit of EA Sports CFC stuff in this, but obviously they're one of the main sponsors of the Premier League. Don't expect that to be too consistent going forward. You'd imagine that FM won't want to be promoting a rival game too much, but it's a little bit funny that it's pretty much plastered all over the in-game footage we do see from this one. Also, the ball detail, as we'll see a little bit later, because there's 2 clips that are pretty similar in this trailer, but you'll see that first one there. It does look very nice, and going forward to a little bit later, we get a bit more here of a view of some of the players as they do walk out, albeit it's quite blurry, not quite in focus, so it's a little bit hard to tell just how in detail this stuff will be, but the ball graphics, they do look good. Will be interesting to see just how consistent it is throughout all the licensed leagues, the likes of the Bundesliga in Germany, even the A-League down here in Australia/New Zealand. That would be quite cool if it does translate into a lot of leagues, and of course, the likes of the J-League in Japan and all that sort of stuff as well, the MLS over in America. So that could be quite cool. Bit of difference between each of the leagues. Going back to the other shot, once we have a look here quickly at some of these players as they do come out, if we can go back and just see that a little bit here. You don't see too much in the background. Some different boots, which is quite nice, and some jeans in the crowd, which might be sort of interesting. We'll see about that, but indeed a bit more detail in the crowd and that stuff too. And if we go back to the first shot that we saw of the actual in-game footage from this trailer, you will see these stadiums too. They look like they're in a lot more detail than what we had previously in FM24, which to be fair was expected. We kind of saw it too back on the poster or the cover for FM25 before that got cancelled. There was some quite nice looking detail on these stadiums. Now to be fair, being in New Zealand, I'm not too sure if that's a replica of a Premier League ground. Can't quite tell. You'd imagine with what they were showing from the shots before this that maybe it's Brighton or otherwise it's Man City, considering that those are the 2 clubs that FM do have a partnership with. So maybe it's the Amex or whatever they're calling it these days, or even the Etihad that Man City play at. But if there's the difference between the stadiums, much like FIFA, that presentation will go next level. And in general, the graphics, they are quite nice going forward. The next shot we do see that is of that mid-pitch podium that they stand on either side of there before the game does start. And it does look quite nice again, that big Alt EAFC that does get plastered, which is quite hilarious. But going through a bit more of a zoom in, but not too much detail, you will see the players about to make their way out the crowd. They start to go wild. And on the sides, the managers' dugouts. And that could be quite interesting if we actually get to see what our managers are doing in these cutscenes around the game. Because obviously at the moment, in FM24 and all the editions prior, it doesn't really matter because you don't see your managers too much in terms of detail because of the graphical capabilities of the previous engine. So it looks like Unity is doing a really good job here with these couple of clips that we are seeing. The grass, it looks pretty decent. It's a massive upgrade on what we've had before. We'll see once we eventually get to that next reveal just how it does look in the middle of a match, because no doubt that will be the big test for this game in terms of the graphical capabilities. And going forward even more, there's one more shot of the trophy now is an engraver. That's a pretty nice looking trophy, and as well as that, you would have seen before on the shot of this, the lighting, it does look quite nice in daytime. It'll be quite nice to see in the second round of clips that we do get some games being played at night time if some of the floodlights do make an effect on shadows and whatnot. But this, it does look very nice graphics wise. This is a pretty nice first little taste we're getting here of FM26. Quite exciting, and there's the Premier League trophy. It looks glorious, a lot better than what we've been dealing with in the last couple of editions of FM, even off the back of the Champions League getting included in the games that are coming soon, hopefully in the space of the next couple of weeks. Maybe we will see a bit more of a match day look at FM26. That's the first trailer. It's only 30 seconds long. It is quite nice. You can see there the American Express Stadium's shape-wise. It does look relatively similar to what we're seeing there in the background, so I'm not too sure if we'll get that much in terms of stadiums in FM26, but if we do, that will be quite nice, getting somewhat closer to FIFA in terms of the overall presentation of the game. And of course, if there's modding, there's definitely something that people can help out with too, so it could be quite good here what we see graphically in terms of the overall matchday experience in FM26, but we'll see once we do make our way forward to whenever they do release that next video do SI. But an encouraging start here with this trailer that we do see. Also, Peter Drury doing the voiceover for this. We'll see if that does mean there's going to be commentary in Football Manager now, but I'm not too sure. With the new gens, that might get a little bit messy after a couple of years, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. If it's included, that'd be kind of cool. I'm not too sure just how much we need that sort of stuff, but already looking like a nice little upgrade there. They've spent that extra year since FM25. It did get cancelled. Doing some nice work here graphically, albeit if we make our way over to the actual Football Manager website or actually close this and go down to news, I think we'll find that maybe the bigger concern going into this year's game might be the UI, because going down further into that February development update where they did cancel the game, if we make our way through this, I'm pretty sure that the main concern, it sounded like here through what they were saying in this, is that actually it might have been the UI that was let down. We'll just try and find it here in this little piece here. And this was the key part I thought back when this did get cancelled. Whilst many areas of the game have hit our targets, the overarching player experience and interface is not where we need it to be. So I do think maybe the UI was what was actually causing the delay, not necessarily the graphics, but those graphics, they do look good. And to be fair, considering the lack of updates we were getting last year, despite them saying they were going to be transparent, you'll see here there weren't all that many, and we didn't really get them in that sort of detail with a video, but it did look quite nice already. They're knocking it out of the park compared to what they were doing with FM25. Let's hope it continues, because it does look like we've actually got a game this year, which we weren't quite too sure about, on FM25. Some good news in terms of this first trailer. It does look pretty nice. A couple of other things too that might be worth picking up on if you're just jumping on the FM26 hype train. First up, obviously women's football will get added into the game. Not too sure now when they're going to talk about that first, but a couple of people have been checking out stuff in the background while we've been waiting between FM24 and FM26, and one of the big ones has been FM Console. He's been digging up all sorts, especially in terms of this FMDB, which is now being sold as a bit of a scouting package here, the Football Manager database. I noticed seeing as it popped up back on my LinkedIn as I'm doing a bit of football scouting these days, or at least trying to, and you'll notice here a video on the women's database. And if we make our way through this one, there's a fair bit of information, as you'll see a ton of players and a ton of nations. So there's going to be a fairly sizable database here in terms of women's football in this first edition of the game since it has been included. So that's quite encouraging. There's a lot of nations. Australia has a fair few, so definitely the A-League will be included. You'll see it there that they've got the 12 teams, 277 players. That is a fair old chunk for that A-League. And also even the NPL, that could potentially get included with the amount of detail they do have in that. So that's encouraging. Of course, being a New Zealander, going to get two new teams in the game this year. We've got Auckland FC finally, and the Wellington Phoenix women, who to be fair, could be quite stacked in that Ninja A-League this season. That's also going to be one of the better names for a competition going round. You could get your first job in the Ninja A-League. Who doesn't want to say that? So that video is quite useful if you want to check that out. In terms of New Zealand, there are some players from there, if there are any fellow countrymen who want to check that out. In terms of the database, they've got a wee bit going on. Let's just find here exactly where this does come, make our way down a little bit further, and there you'll find New Zealand so far, just the first division that has been scouted to be here. This was a couple of weeks ago now, so it could be that this has been getting worked on, but I don't think we'll quite yet be getting New Zealand in the game. It would have been quite nice if we finally got some Oceania football, especially with the addition of women's football, where of course New Zealand are a bit higher ranked at internationals than they are in the men's game, albeit probably not the profile of player that we've got these days in the likes of Chris Wood in the women's game, but they've got 10 teams there, decent amount of players compared to some other nations. I'm just not too sure if that's quite complete considering how complex the New Zealand system is, with the whole Northern, Central and Southern League going on, and also that might be about to change as well, especially with the OFC Pro League that could come into effect at some stage next year. So it could be a thing where maybe in-game we wait for the OFC Pro League, and then Sports Interactive might actually look at including an Oceania League into the game, because that definitely is well overdue in terms of getting something from Oceania into the game. And also one other league that did come from this FM database first up, it was spoiled by FM Cultsol, but Zealand has also got a video on this if you want to go check this out. I'll leave links to both of these videos down in the description for this one that I've dropped. But there's a couple of leaks, and it's in terms of player roles. He goes through every single position and every different role, and they're quite a bit different to what we've seen in previous Football Manager games. You'll see it just there in terms of the goalkeeper. They've got line-holding goalkeepers now, as well as a ball-playing goalkeeper. So quite a few roles already for goalkeepers. And if we make our way down here a little bit further and get stuck into the centre-backs, you'll notice that there's a lot of options, and there's also a couple that focus more on being out of position than in position. So I do think that leans into something that was getting reported before the planned release of FM25, that we might be getting tactics that are different both in position and out of position. So if you want to check those out and get yourself up to date with some other potential things that could be coming to FM26 before they get announced, I'll leave a link to those videos down in the description. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that. My first thoughts there on that FM26 trailer. Definitely think that it's an upgrade graphically. It does look great. We'll see what match day does actually look like the next time they release something, and hopefully as well might set it night time, because then that could look quite cool. But definitely Premier League licensing and the upgrade to Unity, it does look very encouraging. But if you guys want to keep up to date with FM26 as well, there's a few more FM24 videos before we make our way to the release of that game, then do make sure to go down below and leave a thumbs up, and also hit that like and subscribe button. Until the next time I see you, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.